Hello, my name is Rotundo, and I will be presenting Inequality in Childcare and Housework among working men and women. When I was growing up, my mother was always the caretaker. She would get us ready in the morning and feed us breakfast and get us ready for school. It was always her who would take me to my afternoon violin lessons and be the one to attend holiday parties during elementary school. She was always the one who fed the pets and cleaned up after them. She also did the laundry and cleaned up after dinner. Meanwhile, my father would take an afternoon nap every day after work. My mother is not a stay-at-home mom. Despite having a job that requires a lot from her, she's always there attending every event she could. Sadly, this is not atypical for most working mothers, especially in the United States. Most people understand that the burden of housework and childcare still falls on women, but the extent of that burden is surprising considering the equal rights movement and its positive effect on the lives of people in the minority. Childcare and housework still fall upon women despite extenuating circumstances. Women who don't have outside jobs have the time and energy to complete chores, go grocery shopping, caring for children without overwhelming stress and anxiety. However, women who work outside the home, like my mother, often end up doing the majority of the childbearing and household work. Here it is in living color. The graphic clearly shows that women are still doing a lot more house care and child work, although it has gotten better. It has gotten better since the 70s. There's still quite a bit to go. You can see this gap right here. We want that to be even. Women in developed countries like the United States tend to be more educated as well, but are still left taking care of the household responsibilities despite this. Fathers, on the contrary, are significantly less involved in raising children and doing household work. Even when the man of the home is not working due to recessions, economic depressions, etc., they do not take this period to pick up the slack and take the role of the stay-at-home mom. Rather, they go into bouts of depression and do not tend to do housework. Women in these situations are still expected to care to household duties and children despite maintaining a full-time job. This is an experience which is familiar to me. My mother is a lawyer with more education and earning power than my father. Despite this, she still remained a parent with more responsibility of the child rearing and household duties. My mother worked part-time during my childhood to spend more time with me and my twin brother, but she still had a job outside the home nonetheless. My father never considered doing this, even though he made less money and it would have been more practical for him to do so. Even during periods of time where they both worked from home, my mother would still do the vast majority of childcare. A lot of what my mother did was a matter of choice, but she would also have chosen to have had more help and participation from my father. Working from home brings up another point. Even in circumstances when both parents work from home, women remain the primary housekeepers. The coronavirus pandemic really shed a new light on how much mothers do compared to fathers. Proven through these last 8 months, women are the primary childcare and household workers, even at a time where there are no other factors preventing both parents from sharing the equal amounts of child raising and household work. It's really quite depressing, honestly. It's clear that in the majority of households, even in extenuating circumstances, women do more of the household work. However, we've only discussed the work women have to do and not how it affects women. For one, it's exhausting. After a long day at a full-time job, women often come home to a second shift at home. Women not only have to tend to the household chores that need to be completed by the end of the day, they also have to go grocery shopping, cook the food for the family. In addition to all of this, they have to care for their children. This entails not only putting them to bed and getting them ready for the next day, they also often more attend school activities. On top of this, they have their full-time job, which can be very overwhelming. This overwhelming is very clearly expressed in this. This photograph is entitled Maternity Leave, well, not the sculpture, which appeared in a London street. The image of the statue resonated with women across the world for good reason. It shows the burden many women carry, no matter what they are doing. A survey by U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics found that on an average day, 46% of women did household work compared to 22% of men. Additionally, when men did do housework, they spent an average of 1.9 hours, while women spent 2.5. The findings of these surveys show why a change is necessary. All of the stress of a full-time job and household responsibilities eventually takes a toll on the body. Too much stress and anxiety can impact health both mentally and physically. The odds of getting sick or developing long-lasting illnesses are higher among mothers with overwhelming workloads. This graph shows a clear correlation between additional household work and childcare to women's health. As hours of sleep go up, as the hours of housework go up, women's health goes down. More high housework hours, lower health. Low housework hours, higher health. Exhaustion and deteriorating health are not the only negative impacts of this overwhelming schedule. Employers are aware of this burden and assume that women will consequently have less dedication to their job and work fewer hours, and be distracted by family obligations, despite having no factual evidence of this. As a result, women are unlikely to receive promotions or move up in the workplace because of this perceived idea that they can't handle it because they are too busy and distracted by their children. Men's careers, on the other hand, are advanced after having children, despite not being as active a participant in children's lives and housework duties. Since women are usually paid less or work less because of discrimination in place, men's jobs and work is then prioritized in the family. This situation furthers the idea that women need to do 2 jobs of childcare and housework in their full-time jobs in order just to be considered pulling the weight of the family. This discrimination of women in the workplace continues beyond the idea that they will give less commitment to their jobs due to their household work. Once children reach an age where they don't need to be cared for, women are older and face a new struggle: age discrimination. Age discrimination makes it more difficult for people to obtain jobs, especially women. Employers want to hire younger people because of the perceived idea that they will work harder than older people, and because they want to show commitment to their career, despite older women being more qualified. Due to this age discrimination, older women post-childcare are often underemployed and are put at an economic disadvantage, which again causes more stress and anxiety, resulting in stuff like this. Over the past few decades, men are becoming more involved in childcare and housework. Sadly, however, my experience with my father and his upbringing of my brother and me does not follow this recent trajectory of gender equality in the household. Despite not seeing my brother and me as kids due to his full-time job, my father rarely participated in our upbringing. This is quite unexpected considering his upbringing was progressive, and his upbringing was progressive with 2 actively engaged parents. His mother was an avid feminist during the 60s, and his father was the chair of sociology at Presbyterian College, who very much participated in the raising of him. The typical path would be that he followed trends of progressive households and that de-emphasize the traditional gender structure, but it seems that the stereotypical gender roles can override contrasting experiences. Despite my personal experience and lack of hope for the change in gender roles, there is some uplifting news. Recognition that there is an imbalance in the household workload and child rearing is the first step in home-place equality between men and women. One first step could be not expecting men to be free all hours of the day, so that they can dedicate more time to the family. The equalization of this burden would help not just women carry this burden, but society as a whole. Women's health would also improve due to the decrease of stress. They would be able to contribute more to society if they're not primarily responsible for childcare and housework, and children would have more positive role models for both genders in the house for household responsibility and nurturing. Men would get the positive effects of contributing their own ideas and methods to household management and more of the satisfaction of child raising. If we recognize that equal distribution of work is better for women and for society as a whole, we might be able to make progress. And here's my works cited. It is all detailed in my Word document. Thank you for listening.